Welcome! In front of me I have the Xiaomi 13 Pro, which has been released not too long ago, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this device, so let's just jump straight into it. So, right off the bat, we are presented with a case. That's nice. Okay, so there we go. Now the charger is most likely on gallium nitride or whatever it's called, because it is pretty compact for a 120 watt charger. So yeah, anyway, let's get a look at a phone. I do have a couple info right here. So we have like a professional optic lenses, we have leading Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, we have W Quad HD Plus dynamic 120 Hz AMOLED display, and smart 120 watt hypercharger, and it does 50 watt wireless turbocharge. Okay, cool. Anyway, oh come on, why is it ripping? Okay, so one thing that I'll say, I do like the white color. There we go, it's starting on. It looks pretty nice. And the bump is quite significant, though, as you can probably see. Anyway, let's just jump into the specs right here. So right off the bat, I'm gonna begin with the display, because that is basically the first thing that we will see. Now, on the camera it might not look as nice as it does obviously in person. I want to point that out. The display here looks really nice. The bezels are pretty minimal, so they are relatively small. And to say what relatively means in millimeters, we are looking at, if we're counting the entire from the frame or the outside of the frame to the beginning of the display, we would be looking at about 4 millimeters. So that's pretty good. Now, if we don't count the metal frame and just the bezel alone, that is about 3 millimeters, about a millimeter less. Okay, so I just counted the bottom one. The top one looks basically the same, and the side ones, it might be a little bit harder to measure just because the glass is curved, obviously, as you can see. So I'm not exactly sure how to measure that. Anyway, let's just go on. So the display right here is a 6.7 inch display. It's a 1440p by 3200. So really good display right here. It's an LTPO AMOLED display, 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, Dolby Vision certified, HDR10 Plus certified, and a peak brightness of a stupendous 1900 nits. So you might be just being blasted by just pure sunlight in the summer, and you still should have very little problems of seeing this display. So yeah, this display obviously gets really bright. Now I'm not sure if I can even show you how bright it gets once I set up the display, because 1900 nits is the peak brightness. So this equates to when, for instance, like you have a direct sunlight and it detects that the it is a little bit too bright, so it does boost it up higher, but it boosts it up only for just a short period of time. It won't be running at 1900 nits all the time. So that is one of those things, but still, when you need it, when you whip out your phone from a pocket during summer on the beach and you want to check out the time, you can actually see it. So there we go. Now extended use in this kind of situation, the display will dim back down to a more reasonable number after like a minute or so, so keep that in mind. Now looking at the brightness, this is the max brightness right now. So obviously it's already kind of blowing out the camera a little bit. Now let's get my phone. Let's just quickly, there we go. Will it get any brighter? Yep, as you can see, it just got brighter. Now it's completely blowing up the camera. And it just dimmed down. So yeah, it gets really bright. Now anyway, let's move over to the next part. So this will be straight up just the internals. Now the phone I have right here, which I haven't actually checked what the internals of it are, is the 12 gigabyte RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. Now it won't really matter all that much, to be completely honest. It's just I wanted to mention what variant I have right here, because we have a couple other ones. So at the very lowest end you can get the 128 gigs of storage with 8 gigs of RAM. Now there is one actual difference that I will mention. With the lowest model, the 128 gigabytes of storage, you will get slower storage type. So you're getting the old UFS 3.1 storage with 128, but with anything above, so 256 to 512, you're getting the UFS 4.0. So it's going to be a faster storage in general. And now if you're planning to record videos at like 4K and then edit them on the go on your phone, or well, this phone can also do 8K, so obviously that also applies to 8K even more. 4K 30 or 60, again, if you're planning to do like 4K 30, that's not as important. 1080p obviously won't really matter that much, but like 8K or 4K 60, that's where you probably want a faster storage if you're planning, like I said, to edit your videos on the phone. So that the storage will matter at that point. For typical usage, I don't think you need to, if you don't want to, you don't need to splurge out more for faster storage. You won't see it on a typical like usage. It will be such a minuscule difference that honestly it won't make much of a difference. But where it does is where it needs to take large files from the storage, like 8K videos, and then deal with them on the go. So basically edit them and have constant use of them. So that's the only time I would recommend actually going for the 256 storage if you actually don't need it. Oh, let's put it this way. I'm talking about the storage and just the storage type. So that's one. Now one other thing is there's two variants of this device, so 128 and 256, which come with 8 gigs of RAM, and then 256 and 512, which come with 12 gigs of RAM. Now in both cases, 8 or 12, I would say that's sufficient enough RAM storage for majority of the people. I have I think 12 in my phone, and I don't recall any moment where I needed to use 12 of it. And I have a phone that is designed for multitasking, so if me with multitasking beast, I can't figure out how to use 12 gigs of RAM, chances are you will never exceed this here. So yeah. Now anyway, moving on with the internals, because I didn't actually finish it up. We have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so basically the newest flagship processor that it can get. We have a 4820 mAh battery and the stupidly fast charging charger that comes provided with the device, unlike some other devices. 120 watts, that is insane. And let's see if there's any kind of advertised charging speeds, and would you look at that, there is. You'll get your phone fully charged from 0 to 100 in 19 minutes. Okay, that is just that is super nice. Now, I will be honest, the charging speed here is absolutely amazing, though I probably wouldn't recommend running that at, well, 120 watts all the time. In the settings you can, I believe, change it to charge slower. And if you're wondering why the hell would I gimp my charging speed, is because the faster you charge your battery, the faster it might actually degrade. So putting battery through such a wattage might not, give it a good longevity. So if you don't plan to, swap out your battery in a year or two, then I would recommend probably going with the lower charging speed, which I believe you can change it in the settings. They have the advertised wireless, my bad. So it's wireless 50 watts, which still at that speed you get 100% in 36 minutes, which again, it's just insane. But yeah, if you can change in the settings for slower charging speeds, I would recommend doing so. This will just give you a little bit better battery longevity. And obviously if you're charging your phone at at night when you're going to bed, and that is one of those things that when you won't need actual stupid charging speed like this to charge it up. So anyway, moving on, we have cameras, obviously, like any other phone. But here we have main sensors, or all of them, let's call it main, I guess. All of them are 50 megapixel sensors. So we have, actually no, my bad, a wide one is 50.3. That's 0.3 megapixels more. So 50.3, that's a wide sensor, f1.9, 50 megapixel f2.0 telephoto lens, and then 50 megapixels f2.2 ultra wide lens. So there we go. And at the front, we have a 32 megapixel wide sensor. Now, like I also already mentioned a little bit, with the back sensors, you can shoot at 8K 24 frames maximum. Now, if you drop it down to 4K, you can shoot at 24, 30, or 60. So obviously you're getting basically buttery smooth 4K recording here. And obviously if you drop it even low, you get more things like 30, 60, 120, 240, and 960. Those are slow motions, I would mention. So 3-digit usually are slow motion. And you also have like a stupendous slow motion at 1080p at 1920 frames. Again, that is like insane slow motion. I think that's literally competition for Samsung in this case, because Samsung was previously the one that was doing these kind of like quadruple digit slow motions or frame rates in slow motions. So yeah. Now, a couple of things worth mentioning. We don't have a headphone jack, or at least not that I can see. So we have a speaker grill at the bottom, a SIM tray, which is only a SIM tray by the looks of it, but I'm gonna check it. Yep, that's just a SIM tray. It's a dual SIM tray, but it doesn't take SD cards, unfortunately. Charging port, speaker grills, then at the top we have just a little bit more microphones, and is that an IR blaster? Let's see. Yep, that is an IR blaster. Now, if you don't know what these are, this basically allows you to use your phone as a remote control if you want to, so you can pair it with things like AC units, TV boxes, TVs themselves, DVD players, all those kind of things that basically require a remote control. You can pair it with this phone and then use this specific device to control everything. It's a pretty nice thing to have, I would say. I had use of this kind of feature on the phone several times, and usually, being honest, you don't have that much use for it, but once you do, it is really nice to have a phone that can do this. Especially that you can just, for instance, if you rent a hotel and AC unit didn't come with a remote or doesn't have a remote control or one that works, you can just literally whip out your phone, pop in the model of the AC unit, and then just start going through like several remotes that it's going to throw at you, and all you do is press a power button. If it turns on, good, you're good to go. You can now control the AC unit. If it doesn't, you just select no, and it cycles another remote control that it has in its database till it gets to basically one that supposedly will function with it. Now, anything else to say about this device? We have under display fingerprint sensor, and that's about all the worth mentioning things. So anyway, just to finish this off now, I'll start off with the price. So it comes at about a little over 1,000 pounds, so 1,070 pounds about. It looks like it's almost 80,000 rupees for the people interested in this kind of price range. And honestly, for this kind of price, this is obviously a flagship price. So if you're looking for any phone that is in the flagship grade, this should fall in there without a problem. And to go over some of the positive things about the device, obviously number one and probably the biggest one is the charging speed, 120 watts. I can't stress this enough. It is an amazing thing to have, especially when you're coming from a phone that has been charging a little bit slower. You can now just not care about the battery life or the battery size or your percentage all that much, because you can literally pop it in for like 10 minutes and get enough battery charge to last you the entire day. That is an amazing thing to have. Number two, it's the display. It is really bright, like stupidly bright. The display quality here is also just at the top level, rivaling basically the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra with the resolution. I think it's actually even bigger than that. And processor here is basically flagship grade compared to, like, if we're comparing to any other flagship. Samsung Galaxy uses the same ones. So again, all the top shelf things. Build quality, as you've seen, looks and feels really nice. Obviously, feel is not one of the things that you will be able to see on a video, but it feels solid, premium. The frame rate here feels really nice. The glass back looks nice. Obviously, because it's obviously like super flat or super slippery surface, some people might not really like it because you place it on some surface and it's gonna slide off. But we get a case for that. So when you put that on, you shouldn't have no such a problem anymore. So there we go. Those are probably some of the most best parts of the device: the display, the charging speed, and obviously the raw power of this device. Now I would probably also include cameras, though I haven't had a chance to test them out yet, so that is something that I will leave someone else to do. And obviously I'm also not necessarily a camera whiz or not, so I don't really I don't know how good these cameras are. I'm not gonna judge them just based on like a opinion of, yeah, they look good. So yeah. So with this being said, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.